Since the current president of the United States continues to threaten the sovereignty of Canada by annexing it and turning it into the US's 51st state, and also applying tariffs to Canadian products, which US companies will pay and the US government will collect, and incorrectly stating that the US has subsidized Canada, which is categorically false, a lot of Canadians, myself included, want to keep more of our money in Canada and support Canadian businesses. So I thought I would put together a list of 12 fantastic board games designed by Canadians, as well as 12 board game stores across Canada where you can buy them. I unfortunately couldn't find a board game store in Nunavut, one of Canada's 3 territories, so if anyone knows of one, please let me know in the comments. So let's get right into it. Starting with Steam Up, A Feast of Dim Sum. Designed by Vancouver-based designers Pauline Kong, Marie Wong, and Heyman Lee, and self-published through their publishing company Hot Banana Games. Here is the description of the game. Steam Up is a competitive 2 to 5 player, light to medium weight dim sum set collection and action management game offering a delicious cultural experience. At the beginning of the game, steamers filled with different types of dim sum are stacked and placed on a turntable. Each player takes turns performing 2 different actions each round. Actions include gaining and spending food tokens to purchase dim sum and steamers within their feast zone. The game ends when a specific number of steamers is purchased or the fate deck is emptied. Final scoring is then calculated. The player with the most hearty points wins and leaves the table with the fullest stomach. You can find Steam Up at one of my friendly local game stores in Vancouver, BC, Rain City Games. And Rain City have actually added a little maple leaf to games in their store that are designed by Canadians or published by Canadian companies. Next is Dice Throne.
Hey, Editing Pam here. Just a correction that I am actually referring to Dice Throne Adventures and other games in the Dice Throne universe. The original Dice Throne game was created by Nate Chatelier, Aaron Hine, and Manny Tremblay, who are not Canadian, but it was also published by Roxley, which is a Canadian publisher. So there still is definitely a Canadian connection to the original Dice Throne, and then obviously there is a strong Canadian connection with a lot of the variations of Dice Throne games that have been designed by Gavin Brown, who I will talk about in a moment, the director of Roxley Games as well. So I just wanted to clarify that it is actually Dice Throne Adventures and some of the other Dice Throne games within the Dice Throne universe. The original Dice Throne game was created by Nate, Aaron, and Manny. All right, back to other Pam.
Gavin is from my hometown of Calgary, Alberta, and is the director of Roxley Games, the publisher of Santorini, Brass Birmingham, and Radlands. Gavin is also one of the co-designers of Brass Birmingham, currently the #1 ranked game on Board Game Geek. Here's the description of Dice Throne. Dice Throne is a fast-paced 2 to 6 player combat game. Select from a variety of heroes that play and feel completely distinct from one another. Attack opponents and activate abilities by rolling your hero's unique set of 5 dice. Accumulate combat points and spend them on cards that have a large range of effects, such as granting permanent hero upgrades, applying status effects, and manipulating dice directly, whether yours, your teammates, or even your opponents. My friend Jonathan works at Dice Throne, and he pointed out the double meaning of the name that I wasn't aware of. So yes, you're trying to be the last player standing to claim the throne, but the way you get there is by throwing dice. So you can claim the dice throne by the dice that you have thrown. And you can find Dice Throne at Sentry Box, a fantastic board game store in Calgary, Alberta. And in fact, they say they are the world's largest game store. And I believe it. It is a massive space that I definitely recommend checking out if you're ever in Calgary. Moving on to Earth. Designed by Maxime Tardif from Quebec City and published by Inside Up Games, also a Canadian publishing company. Here's the description of the game. Earth is a tableau builder for 1 to 5 players with simple rules and countless strategic possibilities. With its encyclopedic nature and a near infinite number of tableau combinations, every single game will allow you to discover new synergies and connections just as our vast and fascinating world allows us to do. Over thousands of years of evolution and adaptation, the flora and fauna of this unique planet have grown and developed into amazing life forms, creating symbiotic ecosystems and habitats. Create a self-supporting engine of growth, expansion, and supply, where even your unused plants become compost for future growth. And Earth is a fantastic game and has won a ton of awards, including Game of the Year at the Dice Tower Awards in 2023. So the next time you're in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, you can buy Earth at Dragon's Den Games. And the next one up is Maki Master, designed by Toronto-based designers Josh Capel and Adam Gertzbein, and published by KTBG, a Canadian publishing company run by Josh and Helena Capel. So Maki Master just came out in 2024 and is an updated edition of the game that originally came out in 2008 under the name Wasabi. Here's the description of the game. In Maki Master, you compete with your fellow chefs to complete the most valuable orders. You can concentrate on short and simple orders so you have bonuses quickly, or take your time to make complicated masterpieces for big rewards. Each turn, add a new ingredient to the shrinking kitchen space and try to arrange them for the orders you're working on. Complete a scrumptious recipe for points, or take an action card like Chop, Stack, or Switch to help with future turns. Don't forget to collect spicy wasabi to complete orders with style. At the end of the night, the chef who has earned the most points by completing the recipes wins. And you can get a copy of Maki Master at Victory Pints in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And Victory Pints have a storefront, but they also host game nights at a local brewery called Kilter Brewing Company. Next up, we have Ducks in Tow, designed by Vancouver-based designer Stephanie Kwok, one of the owners of First Fish Games, along with Gordon Oscar. So First Fish Games also published Mistwind, a very cool game about flying whales that you've probably heard of. Here is the description of Ducks in Tow. In Ducks in Tow, you are walking around the park feeding the ducks their favorite food. When you feed them, they start following you, and you must lead them to their favorite location in the park. When you successfully lead them to their favorite location, you take a photo with them and they waddle off to find their friends. Maybe you'll see them again later as you continue your walk around the park. You will be completing location cards that will gain you points at the end of the game. Once you have completed a few location cards, you might be able to claim a formation card, which will give you additional points at the end of the game. And you can buy Ducks in Tow at Board Game Bliss in Richmond Hill, Ontario, which is about 30 minutes north of Toronto. Now let's take a look at Hello Kitty Day at the Park, designed by Edmonton-based designer Roberta Taylor, who also designed one of my favorite games, Creature Comforts, and all of its expansions. Here's the description of the Hello Kitty game. In Hello Kitty Day at the Park, players take on the role of Hello Kitty, My Melody, Kuromi, and other characters to playfully compete for the most epic day of fun at the local park. They explore the park by laying tiles, ideally gaining items along the way that allow them to complete adventures, which they will document by taking selfies. The game features a unique system to scale all parts of the game in difficulty for each individual player, even while the game is in progress. So kids can start with the simplest version to begin to explore the game's mechanisms, then learn the more advanced gameplay when they feel ready. Once all the tiles have been played, the end of the game is triggered, and the player who has gained the most points from their adventures wins. And you can find Hello Kitty and many other games at Le Valet de Coeur in Montreal, Quebec. Moving on to the next game, Miller Zoo, designed by Montreal-based designer Thomas Dagenet-L'Espérance, who is also the designer of one of the top party games of all time, Decrypto, which is currently ranked as the second best party game on BoardGameGeek and is almost in the top 100 overall games on BGG, currently holding the 109th spot on the list. Here's the description for Miller Zoo. Miller Zoo is the cooperative family game where you play as the team in charge of running one of Canada's most interesting zoos. Your job is to work together to take care of your zoo's animals and to welcome new ones to their new home. Like a team, everyone plays together at the same time to overcome challenges, unexpected situations, and crises. Play as the real Miller Zoo team and meet all the animals' needs before the card stack is empty. And you can buy your copy of Miller Zoo at the Boardroom Game Cafe in Halifax, Nova Scotia. The next game on the list is actually one of my games. It's Chronicles of Light, Darkness Falls, which I designed for Ravensburger. Chronicles of Light is a cooperative adventure game featuring different Disney characters that have been called down to the realm of light to push out the darkness that has descended across the land. The group will have to discuss as a team what 6 actions they want to take each round and can choose from the players' unique abilities represented by action tokens. To win, the players have to defeat all the shadows on the board, complete all of their individual quests, and then close the vortex that is the source of the darkness that has fallen on the realm. And you can buy a copy of Chronicles of Light from Exor Games in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. Moving on to the next game on the list, The Spill, designed by Toronto-based designer Andy Kim. Andy is one of the nicest people in the world. I got to know him when I ran Proto.to, a playtesting convention in Toronto, so I was so happy for him when I heard that Smirk and Dagger picked up The Spill. Here's an overview of the game. This fully cooperative game for 1 to 4 players features a 4-way dice tower as an oil rig, which randomly drops oil dice onto the 4 quadrants of the game board. In this respect, the game is a reverse tower defense game, as players sail the perimeter trying to push back and contain the oil, remove dice from the water, and save the sea life. Communal resource cards are chosen by the team before the game begins and are then powered for use by either removing 3 oil dice from the game or saving a full set of 6 marine creatures. Weather dice complicate matters, adding new challenges for the round that restrict movement, drop more dice, or increase the cost of operations. It takes coordination and teamwork to win, as new oil dice are dropped at the beginning of every turn, and the number of oil dice dropped increases over the course of the game. And you can buy the spill from Vortex Games in Sackville, New Brunswick. The next game is Blood Rage, designed by Toronto-based designer Eric M. Lang, probably the most well-known and prolific Canadian board game designer. He has 594 linked items on his BGG designer profile page. And just a few of his many notable games include Life in Reterra, Warriors, A Game of Thrones, the card game, and Rising Sun. Here's the description for Blood Rage. In Blood Rage, players control the warriors, leader, and ship of their own Viking clan. Ragnarok has come and it's the end of the world. It's the Vikings' last chance to go down in a blaze of glory and secure their places in Valhalla at Odin's side. As a Viking, you can pursue one of many pathways to glory. You can invade and pillage the land for its rewards, crush your opponents in battle, fulfill quests, increase your clan's stats, or even die gloriously in battle, or from Ragnarok, the ultimate inescapable doom. The only losing strategy in Blood Rage is to shy away from battle and a glorious death. And you can buy Blood Rage from Midgard Gaming in Mount Pearl, Newfoundland. Moving on to Yukon Airways by Ottawa-based designer Alan Leduc. Here's an overview of the game. In Yukon Airways, you will be at the controls of your very own seaplane with the mission of transporting travelers to the different points of the Yukon. Embark your passengers, represented by dice, using a draft system, and use your ticket cards to take them to the different locations on the map. For each passenger, you get money and the possibility of improving your plane if the passenger finds a point of interest that satisfies their taste at the destination, when the color of the die matches the color of one of the cubes at that destination. At the end of the game, you will earn extra money according to the different locations you have visited. The player who has earned the most money at the end of the week wins. So you might be able to grab a copy of Yukon Airways at Titan Tavern in Whitehorse, Yukon Territory, but the photo I saw of it was from their Instagram page in December of 2020, so I don't know if they'll have any stock left, but hopefully you can get your hands on a copy of this game because it looks absolutely beautiful and has a very high rating on BGG. And the last game on the list is Point Salad, designed by the team at Flat Out Games, Sean Stankovic, Molly Johnson, and Winnipeg-based designer Robert Melvin. I believe Sean and Molly are based in Seattle, but I couldn't confirm if they are American or Canadian. I think that Molly might be Canadian since she commented on one of my streams that she agrees that these are called toques. But I couldn't confirm it, so I'm only listing Robert as the only Canadian designer of this game, but please let me know if Molly or Sean are Canadian. Anyway, here's the description of Point Salad. Point Salad is a fast and fun card drafting game for the whole family. There are over 100 ways to score points. Players use a variety of strategies and every game of Point Salad is unique. Cards come in 6 different types of veggies and the back of each card has a different scoring method. So for instance, one scoring method may award 2 points for every carrot you have, but deduct a point for every onion. By drafting combinations of veggies and point cards that work for your strategy, you can amass the most points and win. And you can find a copy of Point Salad at one of the most northern game stores in the world, Ogre's Lair in Yellowknife, Northwest Territories. As I mentioned at the start of the video, I couldn't find a board game store in Nunavut, but I was able to find a game designed by Inuit artist and educator Tomasi Mangiak called Nunami. But unfortunately, it seems to be out of stock everywhere. So if anyone knows of any places that they can buy board games from in Nunavut, please comment below. But I do have one more game designed by a Canadian that I'd like to mention. It's my party game, Blob Party, and a new expansion called Blob Party Neon Nights. So Blob Party is a cooperative party game where everyone starts as individuals but are trying to match their answers with each other to eventually become one big team or one big blob. A category card and a word card are turned over and everyone writes down whatever comes to mind for those 2 prompts. Then everyone reveals their answers and any players who wrote the same thing become a blob and will now come up with an answer as a team moving forward. A new word and category card are revealed and individuals and blobs write their answers, and again, anyone who wrote the same thing will blob together. The group needs to all become one big blob before the end of 7 rounds to win. And you can buy Blob Party from another one of my friendly local game stores in Vancouver called Strategies. And you can pre-order the expansion Blob Party Neon Nights, which adds 25 new categories, 100 new words, and glow-in-the-dark Play-Doh from Board Game Bliss in Richmond Hill, Ontario. And keep in mind that if you don't live near any of these stores, many of them can ship games to you. Like Mission Fun and Games, which is a brick and mortar store in St. Albert, Alberta, they also sell a ton of games online through their website, boardgames.ca. So let's support our Canadian designers, publishers, and friendly local game stores. Let me know in the comments which game you were most surprised was designed by a Canadian and which one you're most excited to play. These are weird times, my friends, so let's keep supporting each other and looking out for one another. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.